You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. Thank you for attending this month's board meeting. Please take this opportunity to silence your cell phones. If you're seated at the table, please make sure that the microphone in front of you is clear of obstructions such as papers and screens, and that the green light is on. Please do not turn off your microphone during this meeting. The audio engineer will be controlling the volume of each microphone. If you're not at the table and you are called upon to speak, please wait for a microphone to be brought to you so that you're heard clearly in the room and on the webcast. Thank you. The webcast will begin in 10 seconds. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing star 6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing *6 to unmute your mic on Zoom before speaking. You've successfully joined the webcast. Our program will begin shortly. If you're presenting today and joining this meeting on Zoom, please note that all Zoom attendees are muted when entering, and you'll need to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. For voice-only callers, please unmute your phone as well as pressing
Good morning. My name is Kevin Lohr, and as chair, I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for Thursday, March 26, 2026. We're being webcasted, so remember that. Staff members are joining us both here and remotely today, so please keep your audio on mute until you're ready to speak. The public was given an opportunity to attend today's meeting to provide comments on the agenda items, and I'll state for the record that we did not receive any comments, nor are any members of the public in attendance today. Before we get going with the agenda, I'd like to first recognize a quorum of the directors and have staff introduce themselves. So first with the directors.
Michael Rosen, Director.
John Wong, Director.
Benson Martin, Designee, DFS.
Lorraine Harris, Director.
Great, and we don't have any directors joining us remotely, right? All right, so 5 of us here. We have a quorum, so we conduct business. I'll now ask staff, starting with Kevin.
Good morning, Kevin Eunice, COO.
Great. Jason Clark, Division Minority and Women Business Development.
Arden Sokolow, EVP Real Estate.
Liz Luskin, EVP Small Business and Technology Development.
Simone Bethian, Senior Director, Loans and Grants. Caitlin Armstrong, Project Associate for the Capital Access Team.
Selena Gul Mohammed, Senior Program Manager for Connect All.
John Evans Hornsby, President, Empire State Market Corporation.
Beth Pellegrini, SVP Real Estate and Executive Director of Moynihan Train Hall.
Darren Joseph, Director, Asset Management.
Aaron Sanito, Program Manager, Connect All.
Joe Taswell, New York City Regional Director.
Tony D'Alessio, Deputy CFO, Controller.
Ray Orlando, Chief Financial Officer.
Tremaine Wright, Director, Compliance.
Joshua Bloodworth, General Counsel.
James Costerblock with Strategic Business.
Stephen Gold with Strategic Business.
Hi, Stephen. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. And we have a busy agenda. Hope is unfortunately not joining us today, so we're not going to have a president's report. As always, the directors have received all the written materials in advance of today's meeting and of course are free to ask questions at any time. I'll now ask, do any directors have any potential conflicts with any of the agenda items? Benson?
DFS will abstain from voting on items 6, C, and D, and items 9, B, and C.
9, B, and C, and we'll remind folks about that again when we get to those agenda items. So no others. So the first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the February 19th, 2026 Directors Meeting, which have been circulated. I will move them. Michael seconds them. Any comments, revisions, or additions? Not hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. Next up, we just had a Audit and Finance Committee with the team, and Anthony D'Alessio, our Deputy Chief Financial Officer and Controller, will be making a presentation on the operating budget.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, and thank you, directors, ESD senior staff. In compliance with ESD's fiduciary responsibility and public authorities law, a request is being made to the directors to approve ESD's fiscal year 26-27 fiscal operating budget. The approximately $161 million budget includes operating costs associated with the administration and oversight of existing economic development programs, such as the Governor's Office of Semiconductor Expansion, Management, and Integration, or referred to as GoSemi, Connect All, the State Small Business Credit Initiative, referred to as SSBCI, and various statewide real estate projects, as well as additional programs and initiatives depicted in Governor Hochul's proposed fiscal year 26-27 executive budget. These initiatives require additional support, including from federal funding, to allow for effective management and supervision by ESD staff. GoSemi provides centralized leadership and coordination across New York State government, spanning permitting, infrastructure, workforce, and incentives to ensure Micron's success, simultaneously by fostering a thriving in-state semiconductor ecosystem and leading national and global attraction and recruitment. GoSemi is establishing New York as the premier destination for the industry's future. The operating budget includes expenses associated with the administration and deployment of economic development programs and projects on behalf of the state, but does not include any proposed programmatic state appropriations for specific programs that have been included in the governor's proposed fiscal year 26-27 executive budget or prior years' enacted budgets. The budget includes approximately $95.2 million of total personal services expenses, including salaries and fringe benefits, which will allow ESD to successfully develop, launch, and manage existing, new, and expanded programmatic portfolios with the staff required to do so, particularly with GoSemi, Connect All, SSBCI, and workforce development, and areas that directly support those initiatives, such as IT, loans and grants, finance and legal, real estate, our core business processes. The budget also includes approximately $58.5 million for non-personal services, NPS, which would support occupancy costs, consultants, IT enhancements, and communication, insurance, office services, and staff professional development programs. Also included is subsidiary operating support of $7.3 million, which includes the operating expenses of Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation of $1.5 million, Harlem Community Development Corporation, which is $4.3 million, Queens West Development Corporation, $500,000, and USA Niagara of $1 million. These and other subsidiary operating and capital budgets will be presented to the respective board members. Director approval is also requested for the corporation's fiscal year 26-27 non-programmatic capital expense budget, totaling approximately $12 million. This authorization includes support to continue to ensure safe, functional, and compliant work environments across ESD locations, enhancements to the loans payment process, and other initiatives, including but not limited to AI, artificial intelligence. If any changes are required to the ESD budget after the adoption of the state's 26-27 budget or any other time during the fiscal year, they would be brought to this board for approval. The details of the proposed fiscal year 26-27 ESD operating budget, including certain subsidiary operating support and the annual non-programmatic capital expense report, were provided for your review. Immediately preceding this meeting, the ESD Audit and Budget Committee reviewed the budget and recommends it for further approval by the full ESD board. In closing, Chair, sincere thanks to all ESD staff who participated in the project. Members of my controllers team, special recognition to my budget team and Gene Kwiatkowski, our Senior Director of Budgeting. His time, talents, knowledge, and hardworking attitude contributed to the whole process. And it would be remiss if I really didn't recognize our Chief Financial Officer, who played a key role, his leadership and his dedication throughout the whole process. It has been a true teaming and collaboration process. Thank you, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Anthony. 2 questions first. The NPS portion of the budget, what are the 2 largest items that make up the NPS part of the budget? And if 42% of our personnel budget goes for fringe and health benefits and stuff, is that in line with other state agencies?
Chair, in response to your first question, I would say that the 2 expenses at the top of the list, not NPS, would be consultant fees and also occupancy, okay, for 3rd Avenue and other locations. As far as the 42% fringe benefit rate, yes, Chair, it's pretty consistent with other government entities that we looked at, and it's actually flat from last year. We do an analysis each year to see where we should be, and we're happy with 42%, which is flat from last year.
Great, thank you. I got one other question. I forgot to ask it downstairs, and I don't know if this is for you, Ray, or Kevin. So we're just approving the budget for the UDC doing business as ESD. And then there's a separate Department of Economic Development budget that will get done in the state budgetary process. About what % of our employees are in the UDC and what % of the employees here are under the State Department of Economic Development? Is it like 50-50-ish, or is it?
75 corporation, 25 department.
So it's, most people then are in the authority.
Yeah, we're about 6+ for the entire org, 150 at the department.
Right. Okay. And how many people do we, approximately how many people in each?
150-ish in the department and 455 in the corporation.
So about 600 total?
Yeah.
Yeah, 600. Got it. Great, thanks. Anybody else have any questions? All right. So Tony, you need us to approve this. Right. So I will move it. John Wong seconds it. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Tony, Ray, and your team.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Rebecca Pellegrini, Senior VP, Asset and Financial Management for Real Estate Development and Planning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Today I'm presenting the Moynihan Station Civic and Land Use Improvement Project budget proposals for both operating and capital budgets in support of Moynihan Train Hall for fiscal year April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027. Authorization is being requested for an operating budget of $512,866 for personal and non-personal services, as well as a request for authorization of the Moynihan capital budget in the amount of $3,735,150. The capital budget supports expenses associated with ESD's assets and obligations as owner of the Moynihan Train Hall facility, and ESD's ongoing role with the James A. Farley condominium, the governing entity of the completed train hall. The capital budget also reflects maintenance costs for the extensive revenue-generating digital network of which ESD retained control, as well as ongoing asset management obligations consistent with owning a facility of this size. The capital budget remains unchanged from last year. The operating budget has an increase of approximately 6%, representing salaries, fringe benefit, and insurance cost increases. The operating and capital budgets will be primarily funded by advertising revenue generated by the ESD-controlled digital network at Moynihan Train Hall, with a minor portion of the capital budget supported by developer funds. And with that, we are requesting authorization for the operating and capital budgets, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, and another sort of organizational type question. When you said this is a budget for the project, is this also a subsidiary of UDC for Moynihan?
Moynihan is, yes, it's technically.
And so we're approving the budget for the Moynihan Train Hall sub of UDC?
That's correct.
Got it. Very good. All right. Anybody have any questions? All right. Hearing none. Oh, I should have mentioned there were no questions from the public on the budget, and we don't have any questions or comments from the public on this item either. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, directors.
Rebecca. All right. Next up, Caitlin Armstrong, Project Associate for Capital Access, Small Business, and Tech Department.
Good morning, everyone. We are asking the directors to approve the authorization to make individual grants up to $1 million to eligible lending organizations such as CDFIs, LDCs, and IDAs. Minority and women-owned businesses represent a substantial segment of New York State's small business economy, but continue to have trouble accessing startup, early stage, and growth capital through traditional lending institutions. The Minority and Women Revolving Loan Trust Fund is a program created to make low-cost financial assistance available at the local level to MWBEs. This program follows the rules and regulations of the Minority and Business Development and Lending Program with a total allocation of $15 million. This program is intended to address the financing gaps through coordinated deployment of the trust fund program. The Minority and Women Revolving Loan Trust Fund operates on a revolving basis, ensuring repaid capital may be redeployed to support additional borrowers over time, preserving public capital for sustained economic impact. Although the Minority and Women Business Development and Lending Program is structured as a statewide initiative, particular emphasis will be placed on opportunities emerging the I-90 corridor, which runs through central and western regions of New York State. Selected organizations will use the grant proceeds to provide affordable financing through loans between $10,000 and $50,000 to MWBEs that face barriers to accessing conventional credit through the Women and Revolving Loan Trust Fund. Eligible MWBE borrowers can use loan proceeds for the acquisition of real property, machinery, and equipment to help MWBE businesses grow and succeed throughout New York State. Eligible grantees will be invited to apply for the program through an RFA. Once applications are received, a review committee will read and score the applications and then award those with the grant to participate in the program. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. First, Caitlin, is this your first time presenting to the board?
Yes.
Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Good. I like to recognize that when I see some new faces. I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is this an initial capitalization or is this a recapitalization of the fund?
I believe it's a recapitalization of the fund. I can confirm that with the team.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Any other board members have any questions? All right. We don't have any comments from the public on this either. So I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Caitlin. Next up, Ben Verschuren. He's our Executive Director of NYSTAR, and I believe he's on the phone.
Yes, good morning, everyone. The directors are requested to authorize the adoption of guidelines for the implementation and administration of the NYSTAR Clean Tech Corporate Innovation Challenge. The Clean Tech Corporate Innovation Challenge is supported by $10 million in funding from the 2022-2023 state budget, appropriated through the Local Assistance Innovation Venture Competition Program, and will be the reimagined successor of the 76 West Clean Tech Accelerator that ceased operations in 2020. Through this investment in clean tech acceleration, Governor Hochul is building on our commitment to meet New York State's climate and sustainability goals. This challenge program will pilot a new model that equips New York innovation organizations with tools to increase corporate engagement across their ecosystem, accelerate commercialization of promising technologies, and build diversified, recurring revenue that supports long-term financial self-sufficiency. The challenge would be administered by one or more qualified New York State-based not-for-profit organizations with demonstrated capability to support clean tech companies as they transition from technical validation to pilot deployment and early commercialization. Selected awardees will convene corporate and public sector partners to identify priority technology needs, formalized as industry challenge statements. They will also design and implement a statewide competitive selection process to identify New York State-based small businesses developing technologies that are well-positioned to address these needs, and will support selected companies in demonstrating market readiness, securing customers, and achieving early commercial traction. The guidelines set forth the criteria for determining eligibility of applicants, as well as provide various program requirements and describe details on the eligible uses of grant funding. Once the guidelines have been approved, NYSTAR will begin a competitive process for selection of challenge operators. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ben? None. No comments from the public on this either. So I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. That concludes our corporate items. Next up, we have our spotlight presentation. Oh, I got to share something. So I chair a couple of boards, and so I chair the Long Island Housing Partnership, and yesterday we had a board meeting there. And, you know, copying is the great form of flattery and whatever the expression is. And so we started doing the Housing Partnership spotlight presentations because we do so many different projects and programs, and it's good for the board to learn about one and spend 10 minutes on a specific item. And everybody thought it was a great idea. It's like, well, that's what we do at ESD. So if it's good enough for ESD, it's good enough for the Housing Partnership. So this month we have a great spotlight presentation from Steve Gold, Vice President, Industry Development and Strategic Business Development, and James Kostenblatt, our Senior Director of Strategic Business Development. Guys, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, directors, ESD colleagues, and those tuning in live remotely. We're so thrilled to present to you an overview of New York State's financial services sector and the work that we do in strategic business development to help grow that critical industry. As stated, I'm Steve Gold, Vice President of Industry Development in Strategic Business Development. I've been with ESD since 9/11, and I also sit on the International Business Attraction team. Joining after 9/11, I've experienced a tremendous change in the sector, and we're going to share that with you today.
I'm James Kostenblatt, and I'm Senior Director of Industry Development. I've been with ESD for 8 years and have served on our strategic business team for the past 4. The Strategic Business Division is ESD's industry-focused team, with about a dozen of us each focused on a portfolio of key industries that are critical to New York State, such as clean tech, agribusiness, biotech and life sciences, financial services, and others. We're led by Jeff Januszewski. In our industry development work, we maintain relationships with key employers in our industries. We attract new companies to New York, and we help existing companies invest and expand here. Financial services, are the slides advancing? Next one. I thought this was controlling it, sorry. Next one. Thanks. Financial services is a critical part of New York State's economy, making up more than 18% of New York's gross regional product, or GRP, in 2025. GRP is basically the regional version of GDP. So this 18% has been fairly consistent for decades. That's $409.8 billion of New York's $2.2 trillion economy in 2025, generated by the financial services industry. And this is well above other industries such as information technology, which contributes just over $181 billion. We have nearly 30,000 financial services establishments in New York, and I'll note that this includes everything from major corporate operations to back office to retail banks. And about 5.5% of jobs in New York are in the financial services industry, so that's 536,513 jobs in 2025, and this is up about 5% since 2020. Overall, we've seen job growth concentrated downstate, with upstate actually shedding jobs. New York City is, of course, a force in financial services, though we do have a cluster of financial operations in Western New York due to some back office operations of some major banks. We'll give some examples of this in a bit.
Can you advance to the next? Great. So despite the finance industry's trend to decentralize operations across the US and the globe, New York State remains a leader in this sector. We're the #1 global financial center in New York City being that center as measured by the Global Finance Centers Index. We're followed by London, Hong Kong, Singapore, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Seoul. So over the past few decades, the West Coast and the East Coast have both lost financial service jobs to Texas, Utah, North Carolina, Tennessee, and even Florida. However, since 2020, New York State has actually increased its financial industry jobs by 5%. As James mentioned, New York State employs over 500,000 financial service jobs. Texas is #1 in terms of number of jobs, but interestingly, New York State's economic impact from the financial industry is 1.5 times that of Texas. So that's indicative of the type of job levels and functions that really take place in a New York typical operation compared to a Texas, which probably is a little bit lower level than that. As far as innovation, we're #1 rated in the fintech ecosystem in the US, and also #1 in the US for fintech VC investment, very indicative of the innovation that's happening here in New York versus elsewhere. And we're also rated #2 global tech city by the Saville Tech Cities Index. They measure many different metrics, including tech environment, talent pool, diversity, and wellness, and City Buzz as an attraction tool for recruitment. So here we have what we could say is a legacy, the typical view of what people think of when they think of long-term financial service industry entities. Most of these are actually headquartered in New York, and ESD maintains a very close relationship with these traditional industry leaders, but only occasionally have engaged with direct financial projects with them. In key situations, we have directly engaged with some of these firms, such as Equitable, on a core business district project in Syracuse to retain their operations there and have them reinvest. And more recently, a very interesting project with Long Island-based Broadridge, where we engaged with them on improving tech infrastructure and established a very unique R&D innovation AI partnership with Stony Brook University and Broadridge that'll be launching very soon. MasterCard represents our transition towards the fintech industry. While they're headquartered in very typical headquarters in Westchester, a little over 10 years ago, they wanted to establish new R&D tech hubs around the world. And in the US, they picked the Flatiron area to be one of the first fintech operations. They have over 500 jobs, actually over 600 jobs at this point, and a very successful project in the Flatiron area that spawned many other companies, straight fintechs, to follow suit.
Fintech is where we're seeing lots of growth and opportunity here in New York. All of the major financial firms have invested heavily in developing technology to improve their operations and services over the years. This has been a big driver in the growth of fintech. And then we also see entrepreneurs creating new fintechs that solve for a variety of problems in finance, leading to so many types of fintechs in the market, and you'll see a few here. Payments, these are companies speeding up payments with improved user interfaces, right? Like Zelle or PayPal or Venmo. Investing fintech, so these are making it easier for individuals and investors to make investments. Insurance fintechs, or insurtechs, if you like. Real estate and blockchain. So in the blockchain, the example of that would be digital currency marketplaces like Coinbase. There's so much innovation in the fintech space happening here in New York, as you can see from these statistics. There are more than 1,500 fintech startups in New York. More than $10 million in venture capital was raised by New York-based fintechs in the past year, over 460 deals. We have more than 54 fintech unicorns, so valued at $1 billion or more in New York. That's second only to Silicon Valley. And on the Forbes FinTech 50 list, so this is a list that's done annually by Forbes on the fastest growing, most innovative fintechs in the US, 17 of those on the list this year are based in New York. That's more than anywhere else in the country. This slide shows companies that are making investments and expanding footprints here in New York, all in the past few years. And we've worked with most of them to encourage their growth here. The bulk of them are fintechs, though we're also seeing significant investments from major financial institutions such as JP Morgan Chase, right, with their new tower just north of Grand Central, Bank of America taking over the lease of their entire tower at Bryant Park. American Express recently announced they'll be constructing a new tower at the last commercial development site at the World Trade Center. Of the fintechs that we've worked with, we have some West Coast-based ones like PayPal, Coinbase, Stripe, and Rippling that are undertaking growth projects here. And there are a number of New York-born and based high-growth fintechs that are undergoing major expansions like iCapital, Built, Betterment, Ramp, and Public. The tool that our team, the strategic business team, primarily uses to support the growth of fintechs in New York is the Excelsior Jobs program. It's a performance-based incentive program that encourages businesses to expand in or relocate to New York by offering 10 years of fully refundable tax credits in exchange for a company's commitment to create jobs, invest, and in many cases, increase their research and development activity here in New York. The results of our work in financial services over the past few years are on this slide. Commitments of more than 8,000 new jobs, more than 11,000 retained jobs, more than $678 million in capital investment, and more than $400 million in R&D activity. A good number of these projects were expansions of existing offices with a handful of new attraction projects. One of the themes that we've seen over the past few years is California-based companies being open to growing in New York. Traditionally, many of these innovative fintech companies have kept their R&D activity out in Silicon Valley. We've been actively seeking opportunities to bring more fintech innovation here to New York, which I think is what you see represented in that $400 million R&D commitment. Now let's take a look at a few examples.
So soon after 9/11, when the big decentralization was happening, moving high-cost jobs out of urban centers like Chicago, New York, San Francisco, to lower-cost areas for back-office operations, we undertook an aggressive strategy to work with these big banks and insurance companies to capture those jobs in lower-cost areas of New York State. We worked with Geico on its first upstate project around then, and here we show you that we work with Citi in the Amherst area, where they've grown. They had a couple of hundred people, but they decided to make it a strategic back office area, and today they have over 2,000 jobs in Western New York. These are just the basic stats from the initial project, but it's returned many times over to us with that initial investment.
iCapital is a New York City headquartered fintech that provides a technology platform for investors. For this project, iCapital had acquired a company based in Stamford, Connecticut, with a location in Utah as well, and they were evaluating growth in those locations or here in New York. Both Connecticut and Utah have significantly lower lease rates while also offering ample access to talent. And Utah, interestingly, is increasingly seen as a viable location for not just financial services, but also tech companies. In working with the company, we were able to secure their commitment to create 820 new jobs and significantly increase their research and development activity in New York in exchange for $13.1 million in Excelsior tax credits, which will help offset some of the difference in the lease rates. This works out to just under $16,000 per new job, spread out over 10 years, and brings more than $91 million in AI and software development activity to New York.
In the same spirit of R&D attraction, PayPal, who had an operation here for a while, but is still headquartered on the West Coast and did most of their R&D and innovation there, was considering where can they, since some challenges in the San Francisco area, wanting to find other areas to look at for R&D tech hubs. They were considering staying in the Silicon Valley and San Jose for this growth, or Austin and other cities as well. We work with them to encourage them to understand the diversity of talent here, which is a unique aspect of the New York's talent base, and the availability of buildings that, with a lot of investment, can be a very great tech attraction tool. So here they worked with us and found a location in the Hudson Square area, which is increasingly becoming more tech-focused, and are investing over $100 million in what would have been a very empty building after Google had left that building for another building that they built recently.
And for our final example, we have Ramp, a 6-year-old fintech founded and headquartered right here in New York City. They offer spending management technology for businesses, so corporate credit cards, expense management and reporting, procurement tools, and the like. They're constantly innovating so that their tech helps their customers, businesses, save money. For this growth project, which would create more than 500 new jobs and see the company significantly increase its R&D activity, Ramp was considering expanding in their existing space in the Flatiron District, the heart of tech activity in New York, or shift more of their R&D activity to San Francisco. The appeal of San Francisco, of course, is the tech talent, and they do have lower lease rates. We were able to secure Ramp's commitment to grow here, creating 524 new jobs and increasing their R&D activity by more than $40 million in exchange for up to $5 million in performance-based Excelsior tax credits.
What do they do? What is Ramp? I'm not familiar with Ramp.
Yeah, so companies use them to streamline their expense management. So for anyone who works at ESD, if you go on a trip, you have to submit your travel approval, and maybe you have a credit card you use to purchase things, and then you have to file reimbursement and attach all the files and scan, and you're sometimes, it takes a while, right? This is not
You're amazing.
It's public money.
So Ramp has found ways to automate a lot of this. It'll find ways to match your travel authorizations to your corporate card, and so it's automatically pulling in things like your receipts, so you don't have to then come back, scan it. It wasn't a critique of our process. Of course it wasn't. No, of course it wasn't. We're going to cut that from the record. So that's what they do. And so this deal, this $5 million Excelsior tax credit, that's $9,500 per net new job over a 10-year period to see this, of course, New York-founded company nearly double their headcount and space and ramp up their R&D activity here. So we on the strategic business team are working hard to continue to attract new financial services companies and support the growth of existing ones here in New York. Thank you all so much for your attention. We are happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, thanks, Steve and James. Very, very interesting. Couple of questions. One, this is like a great story to tell, and if you believe in the media, it seems like New York is losing all its financial jobs. Everyone's going to Texas and Florida, but we're still number one, and we're growing, and we're retaining both the older companies and attracting the newer companies. And I think that's a story that needs to get out there. So it's exciting. And then a couple of questions on the. It used to be, again, back in the day, all the financial jobs were downtown. It seems like, they're being spread out all over the city here, at least for the New York City jobs. You got Hudson Yards, you said, Bryant Park, so you got Midtown and downtown. And is that happening? And so it's happening all over the city. They're not just concentrating in one part of the city.
That's correct, yeah. The corporates are definitely both Lower Manhattan and Midtown, including Hudson Yards. The fintechs, while a lot are in Flatiron, there are a lot in the Midtown West, Hudson Yards area, and even Garment, Soho, in fact, has a few as well. So they're kind of all over. They like to be in Flatiron, but that area has definitely, and Nomad has definitely gone up in real estate costs, so they are looking for other areas as well.
Yeah. And I know the umbrella is broad, but under fintech, the primary parts of fintech, what would you describe them in? What sectors?
Yeah, so we see a lot of innovation in payments, right? And those are, we experience that in our day-to-day with our phones, right? Apple Pay, et cetera. Payments are big. We're seeing, for New York, an opportunity in, how do I describe it? Like digital currency infrastructure, not necessarily digital currency, but the pipes behind the scenes that connect the digital currency world to the real world. So like if you have stable coins, you can use your Visa to pay with your stable coins, that kind of thing.
Got it.
And then also the financial management kind of software like Ramp. The other area that I think is really exciting is companies like Built and Isuzu, which are they kind of fall under the real estate umbrella, where you can pay your rent with through these apps, and then for rent payers, they're getting that counted on their credit score, and so it's helping people improve their credit score.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very. Anybody else have any other questions?
I just have a quick question. Upstate, you said, has lost some jobs, right?
Yeah.
Is that it? Can you tell me more about that?
I think so. I think Upstate has been very successful for our back office operations. The one exception is M&T, which is headquartered in Buffalo and continues to grow. That definitely stands out. But a lot of it's been back office, and unfortunately, back office has been infected by the remote work forever. There are national employers that will hire support staff in financial services and insurance, particularly, and they're willing to do remote, and that's a challenge to keeping jobs there because they're very competitively priced jobs.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Okay, so it's more remote than an infrastructure.
That's a trend,
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Like Bank of New York used to have over 1,000 people in Mohawk Valley. They're technically still there, living there, but they closed the office because they want to keep those employees and not take from some other national employer.
Interesting.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Well, guys, thank you very much. And Steve, I want to thank you. Every time I reach out to you, you're very responsive. You're always very helpful, and I appreciate that. And James, love your energy. And you got to be out there and not behind the desk, out there talking to these companies because it's attractive. So thank you for that. So let's give them a round of applause. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to our regional project section, and we'll start in Western New York with Johanna Walsick, our Director of Community Development Projects.
Good morning, Chairman Law and the directors. The directors are requested to approve a general project plan to provide up to $34,568,000 in combined ESD funding, representing 100% of the capital cost of the project, the not-for-profit Broadway Market Management, Inc., for the rehabilitation of the City of Buffalo's Broadway Market, a 90,000 square foot historic public market on Buffalo's east side. The capital program for the market's renovation will include the demolition of an existing parking structure, concrete structural repairs, restoration of the exterior facade, new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, and a reorganization of the layout of the market with improved vendor stalls. These combined measures will result in a public market that will serve as a community resource for fresh foods, an entrepreneurial hub for production and prepared food businesses, and a regional destination for the greater Western New York community and beyond. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Joanna? None. We don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move over to the North Country with Erin Hines, our Deputy Director for the North Country region.
Good morning, directors. We're seeking board approval of a Regional Council Capital Fund grant up to $1 million to CWT Farms International for a portion of a $21,068,766 project to construct a new state-of-the-art chick hatchery in Watertown and create 20 new jobs. The market and customers for this chick hatchery consist of poultry producers mainly in the eastern United States and all of Canada. This project is complete and has met its job requirements. They are currently hatching over 700,000 chicks every week, which equates to roughly a 90% utilization rate during the first year of operations. This project is also being supported by $500,000 in Excelsior Jobs tax credits. The project is in alignment with the North Country REDC's tradable sector strategic priority by growing food processing manufacturing, as well as leveraging our gateway to Canada. We're now seeking board approval on this item, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Right. Thank you, Erin. Any questions? None. No comments from the public or questions from the public either. So I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Mohawk Valley region, we got 3 items. We need 3 separate votes. We have Allison Madmoon, our regional director, to present. think we have Allison Medmoon to present. I guess.
Sorry about that, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Chairman and Directors. The Directors are being asked to approve a FAST New York grant from the New York Works Economic Development Fund of up to $4,372,413 to be used for a portion of the cost of infrastructure improvements and a water tank installment at Schuyler Business Park in Herkimer County. The IDA will need to make improvements to the existing entrance as it cannot accommodate more than one vehicle at a time, creating congestion and posing a significant safety risk to drivers on Route 5 in order to attract other businesses. Additionally, the IDA will need to install a 500,000-gallon tank to ensure adequate water pressure and fire suppression capabilities. This project will allow the IDA to attract manufacturers to the business park. The total project cost is $5.1 million, and ESD's grant is 85.2% of project cost. The project is consistent with the MVREDC's strategy to support site development to attract strategic industries in the region, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions for Allison? None. No comments from the public. I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Continue, Allison.
The second project the Directors are being asked to approve is an Upstate Revitalization Initiative Round 1 Challenges Grant of up to $2.3 million to be used for the operational costs for Mohawk Valley Community College's Fast Track Plus program. Fast Track Plus is one of 12 workforce development projects being funded through the Mohawk Valley Empowers Initiative, a $10 million initiative to increase workforce participation, expand wraparound services, and redefine career readiness in the region. MVCC seeks to offer and expand its Fast Track Workforce Training Program, which connects underemployed and unemployed residents of the Mohawk Valley with living wage paying jobs. Students who are enrolled in the 14-week program receive intense, individualized personal and employment counseling and skills training. Students who complete the program earn an associated certificate from the college and are guaranteed a job interview with a handful of local companies and the local Carpenters Union. This marks an expansion of the Fast Track program to other community colleges in our region. The project is consistent with the MVREDC's strategy to support workforce development in the Mohawk Valley's key strategic focus areas, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Nope. We don't have any comments from the public, so I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Last item, Allison.
The third project the Directors are being asked to approve today is a $550,000 capital grant for Project Polaris Cybersecurity Capital from Round 6. This is to Hanger Road LLC, which is a real estate development company, and the grant supports the construction of a 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility built to suit for cybersecurity specifications and requirements by Hanger Road LLC. And this was built for 2 companies in cybersecurity at Griffith Business and Technology Park. The total project cost was just over $10 million, and the project is consistent with supporting the Mohawk Valley's regional cybersecurity cluster within the Griffith Business and Technology Park. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right. Any questions? None. No comments from the public. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. All right. So that was Mohawk. Now let's go to the Capital Region. We have Mike Yevely, our Regional Director. Here's 2 items and 2 votes we need.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning. I'm requesting the Directors approve a $1.7 million Round 8 REDC grant to City Station North 2 LLC for a portion of the cost associated with the construction of a new mixed-use building on the corner of Congress and 6th Avenue in Troy, New York, Rensselaer County. The Regional Council funding is directly related to the construction of 40,000 square feet of commercial space and associated subsurface parking. The total project cost related to the commercial portion of the project is $16.3 million, with a total mixed-use project of approximately $42 million. In addition to the new commercial space, the overall project includes the demolition of an existing 65,000 square foot vacant building, infrastructure improvements at the project site, subsurface parking as well as surface parking, including EV charging stations, 87 market rate apartments. This supports the development efforts by the City of Troy to transform its downtown into a livable, workable community. The project is also consistent with the Capital Regional Economic Development Council's place strategy designed to create communities of choice that offer live, work, and recreational opportunities. Happy to answer any questions.
Mike, we're actually seeing the pictures on the screen. Looks great. Another new idea we're doing here. I think it's helpful. A picture always says 1,000 words, so good to see it. Sounds good. Any questions for Michael? None. We don't have any comments from the public, so I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Michael, continue.
Thank you. I'm also requesting to amend the Catskill Mountain Foundation's original request and approval and to increase the total Round 5 DRI capital grant from $1,750,000 to $1,990,000. The Catskill Mountain Foundation Inc.'s project in Tannersville, a not-for-profit corporation dedicated to arts, culture, and education programming, began in November 2021. The village of Tannersville was awarded $10 million from Round 5 of the DRI, a portion of which was allocated to the Catskill Mountain Foundation to undertake a multi-phase capital improvement project and expansion at the Orpheum Performing Arts Center. On May 22nd, 2025, the ESD Board of Directors approved a $1.75 million grant to assist CMF with funding a portion of the capital cost of the project. It was phased. So first phase of the project was completed in 2024 and allowed for a $750,000 disbursement from the original $1.75 million grant. The second and third phases are currently underway and include the construction of 5,000 square foot dance studio, streetscape, and accessibility improvements. In November of 2025, the grantee made a formal request for additional financial assistance. Cost overruns have put some of the scope of the third phase streetscape improvements at risk, including essential design elements envisioned by renowned architect Howard Hardy for the theater's facade. ESD, working with DOS, identified recaptured DRI funds that could be reprogrammed. After consultation with DOS and the local municipality, ESD made an offer to the grantee of an additional $240,000 to ensure the project completion as originally envisioned.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
I can answer any, can answer any questions.
Good, thank you. Any questions for Michael? None? We don't have any comments from the public, so I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Move over to the Southern Tier with Omar Sanders, our Regional Director for the Southern Tier office.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning. We are requesting the directors to approve funding in the amount of $700,000 to the Coddington Road Community Center, a private not-for-profit organization providing child care, youth, and community programming to the greater Ithaca area. ESD funds will support the renovations, infrastructure, and furniture, fixtures, and equipment to a 13,000 square foot facility that will include the addition of 4 permanent classrooms and a full-size gym. Upon completion, the Coddington Road Community Center will increase its capacity, offering 54 additional child care and 20 after-school programming slots. The total project cost is $5,314,000. To support this expansion, the grantee will retain 15 jobs and create 5 new full-time jobs. To date, the Coddington Road Community Center has created 4 new full-time jobs at the project location, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the time. Thank you.
Any questions for Omar? None. No comments from the public either. So I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Move over to the Mid-Hudson region with Linda Malavi, our Regional Director.
Good morning, Chairman Law and Directors. The Directors are requested to approve a $2 million Regional Council capital grant from Round 11 for Storm King Art Center's renovation and expansion project located in the town of New Windsor in Orange County. Featuring sculptures from over 150 artists, the Storm King Art Center is a 500-acre outdoor museum that draws hundreds of thousands of guests every year from across the U.S. and internationally. Storm King's renovation and expansion project redesigned their welcome center and entrance to better accommodate guests, including a 580-space parking lot, 12 electric vehicle charging stations, a 1,150 square foot outdoor pavilion, and the creation of a new 19,375 square foot conservation, fabrication, and maintenance facility where artwork can be assembled and maintained on site. The total project cost is $33,725,000, with the $2 million grant being just under 6% of the total project cost. This project aligns with the MHRADC's play strategy by improving and preserving an existing arts and cultural institution while promoting tourism to the region, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda? None. No comments from the public either. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the New York City region. We have Joe Taswell with us today. Hey, Joe.
Morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The directors are requested to approve a $335,000 Regional Council Capital Fund grant to the China Institute of America in connection with the renovation of its new location at 100 Washington Street in Lower Manhattan. The project, which has a total cost of $4.9 million, was designated by the New York City Regional Council as a priority in REDC Round 6. Founded in 1926, the China Institute is an internationally renowned nonprofit that is dedicated to deepening the world's understanding of China through programs in art, business, cuisine, culture, and education. The China Institute's gallery, which features public art exhibitions, currently attracts over 7,500 visitors annually. In 2015, the China Institute announced its plans to move from its Upper East Side location on East 65th Street to 100 Washington Street in Lower Manhattan. The ESD grant, awarded at the end of 2016, will be used to renovate 6,500 square feet of ground floor space that will establish a new street-level entrance and reception area. The project also includes the installation of new HVAC, electrical, plumbing, security systems, flooring, and a staircase to education and exhibition spaces on the Institute's second floor. The project will retain 27 existing jobs and create 3 new jobs. The project was completed in May of last year. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Joe? We don't have any comments from the public either, so I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Joseph. All right, out to Long Island, we have Anne Marie Proscia, Project Manager for the Long Island Regional Office.
Good morning, Chairman Law and Directors. The directors are asked to approve a Regional Council capital grant of up to $2 million to Community Development Corporation of Long Island, CDLI, to pay for a portion of the infrastructure costs for the ground floor commercial space at a new mixed-use development in the village of Hempstead known as 159 Main. CDLI is a not-for-profit focused on building affordable housing. This project was a Round 7 priority project for the Long Island Regional Council. It supports placemaking and the strong need for affordable housing in the region. The project will provide 228 affordable apartments of mixed income, all below 90% AMI, and 24,000 square feet of commercial space. 2 of the 4 retail spaces are occupied, 1 restaurant and 1 grocery store. This project has helped transform Hempstead's Main Street into a pedestrian-oriented commercial district and meets the need for more affordable housing near the Long Island Railroad. The total project cost is $158 million, and the project is complete and ready for disbursement. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Any questions for Anne Marie? None. We don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move it, and Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do Restore New York grants. We have Simone Bethune with us today. She's our Senior Director of Loans and Grants.
Thank you, Chairman Law. Good morning to everyone. For the Restore New York calendar, I have one item. The directors are being requested to authorize a $1.6 million Round 8 award to the County of Ulster in the Mid-Hudson region for rehabilitation of the vacant and historic Wellington Hotel in the town of Pine Hill, and this will create a mixed-use development. Once complete, the former hotel, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Properties, will be transformed into 10 affordable housing units, a ground floor cafe, and a pantry store. The project is scheduled to break ground in June 2026, with completion in 2027 at a cost of $11.3 million approximately, and the county will ensure an equity contribution of approximately $6 million. And I can take any questions.
What makes it National Historic? Did George Washington stay there, or is there something similar to that?
I think just when it was built and the legacy it has in the town. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks. All right. Any questions for Simone? We don't have any comments from the public either, so I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Simone now is going to give us at the direction of projects.
Thank you. At the direction of grants, refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that originate from the governor, the New York State Assembly, or the Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding, but does not select the recipients of funding. For the first item, the directors are being asked to authorize a $10 million grant from the Local Assistance Program to the Museum of Innovation in Science, or MySci, in Schenectady, New York, a destination for learning and creative exploration for science, technology, engineering, and math. The grant was made available at the direction of Assemblymember Angelo Santa Barbara of District 111 in the fiscal year 2024-25 budget. Funds will be used to renovate and expand the museum's existing facility, in addition to constructing a 1,700 square foot addition for public programming. The project will be complete in December 2027. For item B, the directors are being asked to authorize a $10 million fiscal year 2025-26 appropriation from the Local Assistance Special Capital Appropriation Program, made available at the direction of multiple New York State Assembly members who are separately listed in the director's calendar. The museum will undertake an upgrade project for 8 of its passenger and freight elevators, along with other modernization upgrades, resulting in significant improvements to accessibility, safety, operational efficiency, and long-term cost savings across the museum's campus. This project is expected to be complete in September 2027 at a cost of $11 million. For item C, we are requesting director's approval for a $750,000 grant to Center State CEO, an independent economic development not-for-profit in Central New York, for various activities in furtherance of promoting strategic industry support and inclusive workforce development. The fiscal year 2025-26 award is being made available as a New York State Senate conference-wide directive. Funding will be applied to Center State CEO's programmatic and administrative expenses through December 2028. For item D, the directors will be asked to approve a $10 million grant from the State and Municipal Facilities Fund to the City of Buffalo to be used for a portion of the cost to restore 2 World War II-era vessels located at the Buffalo Naval Park. The grant is being made at the direction of the Executive Chamber, and funding will be used to repair the 2 naval vessels which were damaged by storms in 2022 that now serve as attractions at the park. Work will begin in April 2026, and project costs are expected to total approximately $22 million. And I can take any questions.
Anybody have any question for Simone on any of these at the direction of? None. We don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move them. Benson seconds them. Oop.
To go to Steve Garlick's, the last one.
Oh, I thought we were doing 2 separate votes.
No, you can do it. Okay, you can go.
Well, we'll vote separately. Thanks. So, all right. So there's a motion. There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Now we'll do Steve Golick, our VP of Poly and Capital Projects and Senior Counsel, for strategic initiatives. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Today, the board's being asked to approve a $180 million grant to the Empire AI Consortium. With the money is part of a $350 million in state appropriations announced by the governor to fund the state-of-the-art AI facility to be located on SUNY Buffalo's campus. The consortium that's managing the project is made up of New York's leading universities and includes SUNY. The members are going to be paying the operating costs, and the state funding will be used to fund the capital expenses. The project goal is really to advance responsible AI research and development. The current grant funds will be used to fund the design, construction, and equipping of the permanent facility. Previously, the board approved $40 million, which was used to fund the initial design and to pay for initial equipment that has allowed the project to get up and running on a computer lab currently built at SUNY Buffalo. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions? None. We don't have any comments from the public. Given the dollar amount, I think this one was worthy of its own vote. So I'll move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thanks, Steve. Okay, Office of Strategic Workforce Development, and we have Michelle Clark, our VP and Director. Michelle, are you there? Are you on mute?
Yes, I'm there. Apologies.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, directors. The directors are requested to approve the release of funding to the New York City Department of Small Business Services in the amount of $691,239. This working capital grant through the Office of Strategic Workforce Development will be used to implement a direct entry pre-apprenticeship program for the building and construction trade, provided by the Workforce One Career Center system in partnership with Pathways to Apprenticeship. P2A will administer the program, including providing case management and wraparound services such as stipends, transportation assistance, food assistance, and financial literacy training. We are recommending that the board authorize the release of funds to carry out this project. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Anybody have any questions? None? No comments from the public either. So I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Michelle. So next up, we have Connect All. We have 2 items, 2 presenters, and 2 votes. First one up is Selena Gul Mohammed, our Senior Project Manager, and she is with us, right? Today. Yep, there you are.
Good morning.
Selena.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of the board, for the opportunity to bring this matter to you today. Connect All is requesting that the directors authorize 3 grant awards and the corresponding general project plans awarded through our municipal infrastructure program. For the first project, Connect All seeks approval to enter into a grant agreement with Franklin County for an amount not to exceed $5,847,120.57 to construct broadband infrastructure in Franklin and Essex counties. The directors previously approved a general project plan for this project at the September 2024 meeting. The general project plan has since been amended, and this amendment requires board approval. For the second project, Connect All seeks approval from the board to enter into a grant agreement with Madison County for an amount not to exceed $12,572,908.00 to construct broadband infrastructure in the counties of Madison, Shenango, and Oneida. For the final project, Connect All seeks approval from the board to enter into a grant agreement with CBN Allegheny LLC for an amount not to exceed $10,034,234.05 to construct broadband infrastructure in Allegheny County. Including the 3 projects before you today, the total amount of grant awards authorized by the board under this program will be approximately $291 million. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Your first time, Selena? Here? Second? Okay, so, very good, sorry. Anybody have any questions for Selena? No, we don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Selena.
Thank you.
So Also from Connect All, we have Aaron Sanito. Aaron, you don't look familiar either. Is this your first time?
First time was in January.
Okay, so I screwed up twice, so sorry. But welcome back, Aaron. So what do you got for us?
All right. Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Laura and members of the board. The Connect All office requests that the directors authorize 3 grant awards and corresponding general project plans through the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program. These projects will deliver broadband service to almost 4,200 low-income households for $10 per month, with 1 gigabit symmetrical service available to these households for $30 per month, with no rate increase through 2034. The first project, Connect All, seeks approval to enter into the grant agreement with CBN AHCP Albany LLC for an amount not to exceed $3,175,047.19 to deliver affordable broadband to 1,162 households in Albany, Rensselaer, and Schenectady counties. The second project, Connect All, seeks approval from the board to enter into a grant agreement with CBN AHCP Buffalo LLC for an amount not to exceed $4,089,493.27 to deliver affordable broadband to 2,020 households in Erie and Niagara counties. The final project, Connect All, seeks approval from the board to enter into a grant agreement with CBN AHCP Rochester LLC for an amount not to exceed $3,731,613.53 to deliver affordable broadband to 1,008 households in Monroe, Livingston, Ontario, Orleans, Wayne, and Yates counties. With these 3 awards, the board will have approved a total of $35,339,240.76 for this program. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Nope. No comments from the public either. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, New York Ventures, we have 4 items, 2 presenters, 4 separate votes. So, let's go with Zachary Pesnak. I think he's on the phone.
Yes, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good morning. Today, the New York Innovation Venture Capital Fund is asking for approval for 2 investments, both made using our SSBCI funding. First is an investment of up to $750,000 in Turnover Technologies, Inc.'s seed round. The New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund has not previously invested or supported this company. Turnover Technologies is a climate tech company headquartered in Brooklyn, turning industrial emissions into petrochemical replacements. Adopting this technology removes supply chain and regulatory risks from customers, which is obviously very important today, by creating on-site supply of critical chemicals while removing waste. Proceeds from this financing will be used to support the company's first customer pilot projects and scale up of their technology. So as part of the due diligence process, the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund staff and an external advisory committee evaluated the company's business plan and growth prospects, as well as the terms of the investment. As a result of that analysis, our staff and the IAC, the investment committee, potential for this company warrants an investment by ESD and the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund, and we recommend its approval.
Okay, any questions for Zachary on that? No. No comments from the public either, so I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Continue, Zach.
Okay, thank you. So we're also seeking approval for an investment of up to $1 million in Graphenix Development Incorporated, their Series A1 round through our SSBCI funding. ESD has previously supported this company with $4.12 million through the Innovation Venture Capital Fund and other programs. GDI is a Rochester-based material science company that has successfully replaced traditional graphite-based anodes for batteries with 100% silicon anodes. Its technology produces silicon anodes that do not swell and expand, therefore making them necessarily durable and viable as a product. Proceeds from this financing will be used to support the company's initial manufacturing scale-up, as well as converting government contracts for drones and wearable battery technology. Again, as part of our due diligence process, our staff and an external investment advisory committee evaluated the company's business plan and growth prospects, as well as the terms of the investments. As a result of that analysis, we once again believe the market opportunity and growth potential for this company warrants an investment by ESD and the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund, and again, recommend its approval.
And Zach, we gave them $4.1 million in the past, and how much are we looking to reinvest in there?
This is a $1 million investment. The $4.12 million was in part investment through the Innovation Venture Capital Fund, as well as some of our partner funds that we have invested our LP dollars into.
And what kind of money are they raising privately as opposed to from New York State?
Yeah, absolutely. They have significant funds. So the overall round is $15 million, again, of which we're doing $1 million. There's also non-dilutive capital from the European Investment Bank on the order of $5 million, as well as another economic developer in the Netherlands on the order of another $5 million. So our $1 million actually unlocked that rest of money was highly catalytic for this company.
Great. Thank you. Sounds neat. Thanks, Zachary.
Thank you.
I will, first, any other questions? None? No comments from the public either, so I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Zach. Now I'll call on Jennifer Teagan from our Managing Director of New York State Ventures, and remind folks that Benson is recusing himself from the next two items.
Good morning, Chairperson Law and Directors. New York Ventures is requesting authorization for investment commitments from the State Small Business Credit Initiative Emerging and Regional Partner Program Fund. This $102 million program uses federal SSBCI funding designed to support emerging venture capital fund managers. These managers leverage our capital matched with private funds to invest in New York State startups. The first fund that we're recommending for approval is Commonweal Ventures. Commonweal is a New York City-based venture capital firm that invests in early-stage technology companies in markets including clean energy, healthcare, and government services. It invests in companies that support priorities of the public sector, including those utilizing government commitments such as grants, loans, and investments, as well as tax incentives, procurement contracts, and concessions. This is their second fund. Commonweal is being led by two general partners who have extensive experience and networks in the financial industry and public sector. Its advisory board consists of a wide range of civic leaders and partners in both public and private sectors throughout the country, including New York State. New York Ventures proposes that ESD make an investment of up to $3 million into Commonweal that the partner will call as it identifies and makes those investments. This request represents a deepening of our existing relationship with this fund. The board previously approved a $3 million investment in Commonweal's first fund in June 2024. Since then, Commonweal has maintained a highly productive and meaningful relationship with New York Ventures, and we recommend moving forward with this investment.
All right. Any questions for Jennifer? None? No comments from the public? So I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. One abstention from Benson. Next one, Jennifer.
Great, thank you. Rebalance Capital is also a New York City-based venture capital firm that invests in early-stage financial and workforce technology companies that serve low and middle-income households. Rebalance invests in these markets by backing startups with B2B and B2B2C distribution models and partner with intermediaries such as financial institutions and property managers to reach underserved customers at scale. Rebalance Capital is led by two general partners who have extensive experience and networks in the financial services industry, talent acquisition, and business advisory. The managers are supported by
2 investment professionals, also with backgrounds in investment banking, venture capital, workforce development, and marketing. New York Ventures proposes that ESD make an investment of up to $4 million into Rebalance Capital. We have no prior partnership with this firm. This is ESD's first commitment into Rebalance. We conducted extensive due diligence on both of these firms, including our application review, interviews, reference checks, and conclude that this investment will further support the innovation ecosystem in New York, and recommends that the directors authorize the investment. Not take any questions.
Good. Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for her? None? No comments from the public either? So I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. One abstention from Benson. And the motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay. In person with us today, we have Darren Joseph, the Director of Real Estate Asset Management, the Real Estate Department. Darren, is this your first time presented to the board?
Yes, it is.
All right. Very good.
1 out of 3.
No, 2. No, I had.
Who's counting?
I had Candace as well. So 2 out of 4. 500 gets you into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, Darren, go for it.
Good morning, Chair, Law, and Directors. We're requesting the Directors adopt the proposed amendment to Cooper Square Mixed-Use Development Land Use Improvement General Project Plan in order to implement a ground lease extension for 229 Christie Street in Lower Manhattan. In 2003, the ESD Directors adopted the Cooper Square Mixed-Use Development Land Use Improvement Project, GPP. The GPP authorized ESD to take title of 229 Christie Street and enter into a 20-year ground lease with the developer. 229 Christie Street is a 460,000 square foot mixed-use building located at the intersection of East Houston and Bowery. The property is located within the Cooper Square urban renewal area and is improved with 361 residential units, a 71,118 square foot Whole Foods market, and a 1,243 square foot retail suite. Of the total 361 residential units, 72 are currently affordable. The ground lease expired on July 1st, 2025, and ESD signed 2 short-term extensions through December 2nd, 2025, and July 3rd, 2026. We're now seeking Director's approval for the ground lease extension between ESD and the owner, Houston Bowery Connection, for a 15-year term from July 2026 to July 2041. The new agreement would preserve the current affordable housing of 72 units and convert an additional units of 4 in increased total of up to 95 affordable units to be permanently affordable. Additional terms are that the owner will make pilot payments directly to the city over the extended 15-year lease term. There would be no other material changes to the GPP, the lease, or the transaction. New York City and the owner support the proposed amendment. There was and is no ESD investment. It is requested that the Directors adopt the proposed amendment to the Cooper Square Mixed-Use Development Land Use Improvement Project and take related actions. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Very good. And Darren, I don't know if this is a question for you or Arden, but just again, the process. So the developer gives title to ESD, and then we lease it back to the developer. And this way we could sort of oversee the whole entitlement process and the environmental review of the project. And we're doing that with the city's blessing.
That's correct.
Got it. Very good. And is that, Arden, is that typically how we're doing things when ESD is involved in these bigger conversion or mixed-use projects?
This is not the first time that we have a structure like this.
Right. Right. And, but we take the title. And with the 15-year extension, so what would be the total length of the lease, the original lease plus the 15 years?
It would be 35 years.
35 years, which is financeable. Got it. Yeah. All right. Any other questions for Darren? All right. We don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move this, and Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Darren. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're getting there, folks. Long agenda today. Last item before we get to the administrative items is we have John Evan Hornsby, our president of Empire State New Market Corporation.
Thank you, and good morning. As you may recall, although the Empire State New Market Corporation directors approve projects for New Market's tax credit purposes, the UDC Act requires the ESD directors to separately determine that any such projects would otherwise be approved by ESD and demonstrate one or more goals detailed in the materials. On March 16, 2026, the ESMC board approved a federal New Markets tax credit allocation of up to $8 million to make investments to a borrower to finance equipment, inventory, and working capital for a new 38,000 square foot Bogopah food store, which is part of a larger mixed-use development in the Inwood neighborhood of New York. The grocery store is in an NYC Fresh zone. These zones were established to encourage stores in underserved communities to provide a full range of grocery products, including fresh meat, fruit, and vegetables. The project sponsor, Bogopah Enterprises, Inc., is a family-owned company that started in 1988 by catering to lower-income, densely populated areas that did not have access to grocery stores and continues to serve these communities today. Bogopah now operates 38 full-service supermarkets serving New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut under the Food Bazaar brand. The stores serve some of the most diverse neighborhoods in New York City and cater to the needs of the local community with international and mainstream groceries, dairy and frozen items, a full-service fish market within most of the stores, and a custom cutting meat department. New York state legislation requires ESD to select and prioritize projects demonstrating certain goals. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project was selected for its goals of creating or retaining jobs in low-income communities and increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income community residents, which would otherwise not be available at the same price or quality. By adopting ESNMC's general project plan, finding the project achieved one or more of the goals, and making all other required findings, including conducting a hearing and an environmental review, this project would be authorized by the UDC Act and is being requested for approval by ESD today. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, John Evan. Any questions for John? No? All right, we don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Continue, John Evan.
Thank you again. On March 16, 2026, the ESNMC board also approved a federal New Markets tax credit allocation of up to $12 million to make investments to a borrower to finance the rehabilitation and adaptive reuse of the historic Lincoln Recovery Center into a 23,000 square foot, 3-story, multi-service community center to be known as the Hart Center in the Mott Haven, Port Morris neighborhood in the South Bronx. Upon completion, this center will operate as a community hub with accessible common space for neighborhood use, including an auditorium and practice rooms for community arts programming and events, a community cafe, classrooms for community organizations, an exhibition hall and multi-use room for community arts installations, events and community-based programming, offices, and shared meeting space. The site has been vacant for over 10 years and was the site of a civil rights-era alternative detox program founded to combat healthcare inequalities and systemic racism. Since its closure in 2012, the Lincoln Recovery Center has sat vacant and is in a state of deterioration and is a source of neighborhood blight. This building requires extensive remediation, including structural investigation and repairs, remediation of an oil leak in the basement, as well as lead, asbestos, and mold abatement. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project was selected for its goals of creating and retaining jobs in low-income communities and increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income community residents, which would otherwise not be available at the same price or quality. By adopting ESNMC's general project plan, finding the project achieved one or more of the goals, and making all other required findings, including conducting a hearing and an environmental review, this project would be authorized by the UDC Act and is also being requested for approval by ESD today. Thank you.
Great, thanks, John Evan. Any questions? No? And we don't have any comments from the public either. So we'll move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, John Evan.
Thank you.
All right, last up is Doug Janice, our senior counsel for corporate real estate, with the administrative action items. And there's a couple in here that Benson needs to recuse himself on. Since we're just doing one vote, he'll recuse himself on the whole vote. Doug, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Law. Good morning, directors. As a reminder, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we've implemented this oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative action section of your agenda. So you've received a full set of the written descriptive materials for each of these items in your materials, but rather than having individual oral presentations made on each, I'm going to provide you with a brief summary of the items, and then at the conclusion, we can entertain any comments or questions you might have. The March administrative action items are summarized as follows. Item 9A is relative to a change in the delegation authority to enter into contracts. The directors are requested to delegate additional authority to the President and Chief Executive Officer or her designees to enter into certain contracts up to $500,000. The current threshold for delegated authority to enter into these contracts is $250,000, which was last modified in 2015. As with the two previous delegations of this authority, this increase will permit the corporation to more quickly and efficiently manage its day-to-day operations, while the directors continue to review and approve more financially significant matters. Item 9B is relative to authorization to purchase corporate insurance policies. Directors are requested to authorize the renewal of ESD's 2026-27 corporate insurance policies. ESD is required to purchase various types of insurance policies to protect its board members, employees, assets, and subsidiaries from financial losses. The preliminary cost of ESD's total fiscal year 2026-2027 insurance premiums is estimated not to exceed $2,207,471.16, which would represent an increase of $194,799.98, or 9.7% from last year's total premium. Following further and ongoing discussions with our insurance broker, staff expects the actual premium increase to be closer to 5%. Staff will continue to negotiate with the insurance carriers prior to the April 1st renewal date to lower ESD's premiums to the extent possible without reducing the coverage. Item 9C is relative to authorization to purchase insurance policy for the Highline Moynihan Connector. Directors are requested to authorize the purchase of the corporation's standalone insurance policies for the Highline Moynihan Connector. The specific policies for renewal are general liability, excess liability, and property insurance. ESD is required through an easement agreement with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to carry these policies. The cost of these policies has been estimated not to exceed $1,218,914.79, which would represent an increase of $117,368.02, or 11.7% from last year's total premium. As with the previous items, staff expects the actual premium increase to be closer to 5%, and will continue to negotiate with the insurance carriers prior to April 1st renewal date to lower ESD's premiums to the extent possible without reducing coverage. Item 9D is relative to authorization to enter into a 2-year lease renewal agreement for the New York State Office of Trade and Tourism in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. The corporation is seeking a 2-year renewal of its lease for its Puerto Rico office space. ESD has negotiated to extend the lease in its current space in the business district of Old San Juan that serves both as an office for staff and a storefront for I Love New York and Taste NY products. ESD surveyed other space options in Old San Juan and determined that renewing the lease at the current location was most economical. The cost of the lease shall not exceed $233,400 for the 2-year period and is inclusive of rent, utilities, and property maintenance. Item 9E is relative to the adoption of revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. Directors are requested to adopt revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts for the coming year. Section 2879 of the Public Authorities Law requires the annual adoption of these guidelines, and the corporation has annually adopted, updated, and revised guidelines which conform with the law. While the 2026 guidelines are substantially similar to the adopted 2025 guidelines, staff is recommending a few changes to clarify and better organize the guidelines to make the guidelines more user-friendly, logical, and coherent, while ensuring that ESD obtains goods and services in an open, accountable, and transparent manner. Highlights of the changes for this year include adding additional guidance on the internal processing of membership sponsorships and certain types of subscriptions, further clarifying the distinction between requisition solicitations, mini bids from pre-qualified lists, and discretionary purchases, and adding guidance regarding the newly enacted Section 139M of the New York State Finance Law related to gender-based violence and workplace policies and certifications for vendors. The provided 2026 guidelines, which incorporate these changes, are now being proposed for adoption by the corporation. Item 9F is relative to the adoption of property disposition guidelines. Directors are requested to adopt the property disposition guidelines for the coming year. Public Authorities Accountability Act requires the annual adoption of guidelines with respect to property disposition, and since 2006, the corporation has annually adopted and implemented guidelines which effectively incorporate all requirements of the Act. The attached 2026 guidelines, which are patterned after the model and guidelines that have not changed since last year, are being proposed for readoption by the corporation. Item 9G is relative to authorization to amend a contract with SOSV-NY LLC for Life Science Accelerator Services. Directors are requested to extend the term of the program operations for IndieBio-NY, the bioaccelerator program being implemented by SOSV-NY LLC for one additional year. The program, which has been funded by ESD since 2019, provides early-stage, growth-driven companies with a top-tier educational curriculum, free dry and wet lab space, access to a global mentor network, and venture capital funding. No additional fundings are required for this extension. Item 9H is relative to authorization to amend a contract with HR&A Advisors for broadband-related advisory services. Directors are requested to authorize a contract amendment with HR&A Advisors, Inc. to provide broadband advisory services to deploy over $1 billion of public funding through Connect All programs and initiatives to transform the state's digital infrastructure. The amendment seeks to extend the term of the contract for 2 years through December 31st, 2028, with an option to extend for one additional year by mutual agreement of the parties. The amendment increases the contract amount by $8 million, bringing the total not to exceed contract value to $22,430,000. Item 9I is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for conduit inspection services. The directors are requested to authorize the corporation to enter into a one-year contract with Schup's Line Construction, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $992,521 to inspect and assess the condition of selected segments of the conduit leased by ESD from the New York State Thruway Authority. This contract represents the first phase to inspect and proof the conduit to place fiber optic lines across the state to build the Excelsior Broadband Network, a new state network public broadband network that will build and connect a network of public broadband assets to improve high-speed internet and reliable cell phone service across rural and urban New York. Item 9J is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for architecture and engineering services for the Niagara Falls City Market. Directors are requested to authorize ESD to enter into a contract with Flynn Battaglia Architects to provide architectural and engineering design services for the renovation of the City Market in Niagara Falls, New York. The project is a collaborative effort between the city, ESD, and philanthropic partners as part of the Regional Revitalization Partnership Initiative announced by Governor Hochul in 2022. Proposed contract will be in an amount not to exceed $2,274,360 and for a term of 36 months. Item 9K is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for real estate legal services for the Atlantic Yards Land Use Improvement and Civic Project. Directors are requested to approve entering into a legal services contract with the law firm of Carter, Ledyard, and Milburn, LLP, to serve as ESD's outside real estate counsel for the Atlantic Yards Land Use Improvement and Civic Project. With the project entering into a new phase with the new recently approved developer, Carter Ledyard will represent ESD in negotiating new project documents with the developer after the board considers proposed modifications to the general project plan and completion of the required environmental review. The term of the contract will be for 2 years with options to extend for 2 additional one-year terms in an amount not to exceed $750,000. The source of funding will be a developer-funded project imprest account. Your final four items, 9L, M, N, and O, are relative to authorization to enter into contracts and contract amendments related to the market order program with the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. Item 9L is a contract for marketing and promotional services of the New York State apple industry with New York Apple Association, Inc. The vendor will provide advertising, promotion, and publicity-related services in support of the New York State apple industry. The contract amount is $1,300,000 for a one-year term commencing on July 1st, 2026. Item 9M is a contract for research and development services for the New York State apple industry with Cornell University. The research will focus on weed control, sustainable pollination, pest control, climate adaptation, and virus and disease management affecting the New York State apple industry. The contract amount is $371,278 for a one-year term. Item 9N is a contract amendment for research and development services for the New York State onion industry with Cornell University. The research will focus on weed control and onion maggot management. The amendment would extend the contract through March 31st, 2027 at an additional cost of $58,767, bringing the total contract amount to $124,767. And finally, item 9O is a contract amendment for marketing and promotional services for the New York State apple industry with New York Apple Association, Inc. The vendor will provide advertising, promotion, and publicity-related services in support of the New York State apple industry. The current contract is being extended through June 30th, 2026 at an additional cost of $300,000, bringing the total contract amount to $1,800,000. I will now turn it back to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. And we also have item-related staff on the line today to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Very thorough. I mean, we do it all here at ESD, from life sciences and telecommunications and mixed-use buildings to onion maggot management. So very cool.
I call that band name.
Yeah. Very good. Yes, copyright that. So thank you, Doug. Anybody have any questions for Doug on any of these administrative items? Don't have any comments from the public either. So I will move the resolution. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, with Benson's abstention. So that concludes our official business and our official agenda for today. Does any board member have any other items they'd like to raise at this time? Don't see any. We don't have any meeting in the month of April. So our next meeting is Thursday, May 21st. I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter and a very happy Passover and a nice spring. And we'll see you in May. And so I'll move to adjourn. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.